Hello, today as part of our Olympic special shows on Arts 24, The Flying Man. For the Paris 2024 Olympics, dancer, choreographer and photographer Mathieu Forget invited athletes to dance with him for a series of jaw-dropping photographs in iconic cultural spots around France. Through these photos with athletes, the Frenchman has succeeded in making photography an Olympic art. Mathieu Forget, hello.
Hello, how are you?
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Your photos and videos are just unreal.
Thank you.
We are delighted to be able to share your remarkable work. And before we talk about it in a bit more detail, tell us how you're feeling ahead of the Olympics.
Oh, I'm very excited. The fact that the Olympics are being hosted in Paris, the city where I was born, at home, it's quite a unique event, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, well, to tell our international audience a bit more about you, Mathieu, you're the son of French tennis legend Guy Forget. You too played tennis at a high level before you changed direction and became a dancer and photographer. Tell us a bit about this change of direction. What happened?
Well, when I played tennis all my life. Everybody in my family was either a tennis professional or a tennis teacher. And then by the age of 16, 17 years old, I discovered hip-hop dancing with watching Michael Jackson, Usher on the TV. And that really made me want to move to the US and really perform and be in my screen, basically. And this story took me to the US, and this is where I discovered dancing and photography and social media. And then I came back to France about 3 years ago, and I would say destiny, brought me back to where I was from, and the Olympics were happening, so it was a nice way to mix all my worlds together.
Okay, well, among your achievements, you actually danced, have to mention it, I'm afraid, with Taylor Swift at the VMA Awards in 2019. You began your levitation project about 10 years ago, and that caused a sensation on social media. Let's share some of these photos. So Mathieu, for the Olympics, you invited athletes to create these flying photos with you. Tell us more about the idea, and do you think there are common values between arts and sport?
Well, yeah, I would say first there are a lot of values. To me, a definition of an artist is someone that basically elevates their discipline to a state of that gives you emotions, that tells a story. So Nadal is an artist of the tennis world. Teddy Riner is an artist of judo in a way. So that is my definition of what an artist is. And then when you apply this to what it takes to become a great artist, it's also hours of dedication, sacrifices towards your craft, either if it's painting, if it's dancing, if it's photography. So they have similar values, and I think both really have a lot in common.
Well, I'd like to talk about a few of the collaborations. Let's start with the fencing double world champion Enzo Lefort in Paris's Petit Palais. About this shoot and working with Enzo Lefort.
It was an amazing shoot. It was really the first time that I got to really collaborate with an athlete. Enzo is also an amazing photographer aside. He's an amazing artist of fencing, but an amazing artist of photography as well. And yeah, we really exchanged, we talked about it, and the idea was really, with all these concepts, what I realized is that the contrast is what works the best. So it's either I bring athletes out of the environment and put them in a very unconventional place, like Le Petit Palais, for example, the Museum of Les Beaux-Arts, across from Le Grand Palais that is going to host fencing. So it was a nice little hint at that. I did also with other athletes. Or what I do is that I go and see the athletes in their own environment, and then I maybe change their outfits or something like that to just revisit their sport.
Fencing seems a little bit like dancing as well. It's very elegant, isn't it?
Yeah, very. And I think as probably a lot of kids, have always played with swords and pretending it, and now being able to share this with one of the best in the world, really just having a little one-on-one teaching lesson with him was quite incredible. I know the people of the museums were a little anxious and worried about it because I was jumping and hitting, fencing next to a Monet like this. But I mean, the experience was amazing. That's really what I want to tell throughout this project.
Well, another incredible shoot was with France's handball players, Pauletta Fopper, Grace Zadi and Tamara Horacek. This was at Paris's Modern Art Museum.
Yeah.
So again, what was it like throwing those balls around in that magnificent landmark?
Well, it was quite unique. Again, with this project, it's always about sharing a unique moment with these athletes and really collaborating, thinking about understanding first how their body works and what I'm able to do with them, and then try and challenge them a little bit also, because we start with the movements they're used to through the sport, but then I want to add a bit of dancing to it. I want to try and add something else, then capture it in photo and video. And having a background like the Museums of Paris, who I'm collaborating with, is quite unique. And we also chose the Musée des Arts Modernes because it's quite spacious also. This and the Petit Palais with all these sculptures would have been a little, probably more complicated. But we had the freedom to do whatever we wanted, so it was quite exceptional.
Are you inspired by all sports?
All sports, yeah, all sports. I mean, all types of movement inspire me in a way. Whether it's sports, whether it's dancing, whether it's painting, whether it's anything like this. Because I think every movement tells a story. So my job and my mission is really to find a way to elevate this to an art state in a way.
You also worked with a Paralympian tennis player, Pauline de Roulede. Let's take a look at that. I love that, very dramatic. A tango.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you come to that idea?
Well, I wanted to, every time I collaborate with an athlete, I always have to tell a new story. So I always have to find a connection with the athlete, something that is new that I haven't done also in the past. And, working with Pauline, I mean, I automatically had to find a story. And I think the idea of a tango, of a love relationship, something like that had to come. I initially didn't know I was going to do a tango, but then as I started working with her, and the challenge also there was how can we use her wheelchair to try and do something very poetic and very sensual in a way, or very cool visually. That led to basically a tango. It was me and her kind of having this story and this connection. And we had a lot of fun, and it also was a way for me to portray her as this elegant and sensual woman that she is, and not necessarily close her into this idea that because she's handicapped, she's only a handicapped person. I mean, she's a very strong woman, and ideally with this project is to show that she can be all of it.
After working with all these people, you must feel so invested now in the sporting events that are about to arrive.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing them perform, because we got to play around, we got to think about so many different ideas. But in the end, my work is done. Now their work is about to start. So I'm really going to be cheering for them, and hopefully they'll be able to bring a lot of beautiful medals to our country.
And after working with so many dedicated athletes, is there something they've all got in common?
What do they all have in common? So many. I mean, they're all, first of all, very open-minded. They all have a passion for storytelling throughout their sport or throughout everything that they do aside. And a lot of the athletes that I collaborated with are always very artsy in a way. They either aside do photography, they do painting, they tell stories. They're on social media. So, they have a very similar vision that it's not only just about sport, it's bigger than sport also. So that's what made me want to work with them as well.
So tell us about someone you dream of working with.
Oh, there's so many. I mean, we're going to stay in France because this project is really about the French athletes. I would love to work with Teddy Riner or with Kylian Mbappé or Victor Wembanyama now, in the States. Antoine Dupont for the rugby. I mean, there's a lot of men and female and also Paralympic athletes that I would love to work with. But the big names, are always the ones that you would love to collaborate with. And then, who knows? I mean, now if you open the world to the Americans and other people, there's a lot of athletes that I would love to.
So many.
Yeah.
Well, the photo shoot you look like you had a lot of fun with, I have to say, is with the French gymnasts.
Yeah, totally.
Laurette Charpy, Colleen Hataki and Marine Boyer. It seems like in these photos, it is so important that you put French heritage in the limelight. We see the Eiffel Tower in the back of this photo, for example. Why is that so important to your work?
Well, you know, Paris 2024 really, you know, when I met with them, because I've really been working with Paris 2024 as an ambassador for the last 2 years now, the goal was really to bridge the gap between sport and culture. You know, France is probably the city of history, of culture, of so rich in a way. So with this project, the goal was not only to represent the French athletes, highlight them and maybe showcase them in a different way, but also pay tribute to this beautiful city that is Paris. So working, you know, with the Plaza Athénée, for example, or the Paris museums, it's just a way for me to basically blend it all together and create something quite exceptional.
Okay. Mathieu Forget, it's been a pleasure to have you and
Thank
share
you.
your work with an international audience. Your photos are on display at several places, at the Rouen Town Hall in Normandy until September, also at the Baluti Boutique in Paris and at the art space La Hune, Yellow Corner. You also have a photo book coming out in October, which we'll tell people more about nearer the time. Staying with the theme now of defying gravity, we're going to leave you with a touring dance show from French choreographer Rachid Ouramdan, which is part of the cultural activities being put on for the Olympics. Morbius Morphosis brings together more than 100 artists on stage for this show with music from the air musician Jean-Benoit Dunkel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.